Hey folks, we're here. It's October. That means the leaves are falling off the trees. The weather's changing, and Ed Young's gonna shake his head and get mad
Shaking my head.
He's getting colder. The one good thing about it getting colder is it's almost time for your time of the year, which is hitting the hardwood in basketball.
That's why we play them indoors.
And your team is 6-0 fall league, which is nice. We'll talk about that soon, but we're going to talk high school football because that's why we do this here on the video show in October and in November. And tell you what, Ed, we're down to 6 undefeated teams in Hampton Roads, 30 in the whole state. You're going to rip apart my state rankings later on in this video show, I am quite sure.
I'm sure.
As we did our midseason report last week, much to all the fans out there love it. Shout out to many of you, including our buddy Patrick Maloney down there in North Carolina.
Good job, Pat.
Appreciate you watching. Everybody giving us shout-outs and listening. And if you want to sponsor the show, it's available. Hit us up. VirginiaPreps.com, Twitter at Hatfield Sports, HatfieldSports@gmail.com. You can find him on Facebook. He's not hard to find.
It's me.
He's got a face for Facebook. Not radio.
Radio and Facebook.
But we are on radio every Saturday, 10 a.m. to noon on ESPN Radio 94.1 with High School Sports Talk. This is the Sports Talk Plus show. Ed, not a ton of big-time showdowns in Hampton Roads last night. There's some ones coming up we'll talk about most of this video, but the game that really caught our eye we had on Coach Bill Stachelski of the Cox Falcons. My pick to win the Beach start of the year, you took Bayside. It wasn't looking good when Bayside thumped Cox, but here Cox is now at 4-2. Granted, they're still behind the likes of Ocean Lakes and Lansdowne atop the Beach, but they win a 38-35 thriller. Carson DiNardo gets the field goal. He's the son of assistant coach Jimmy DiNardo, younger brother of DJ DiNardo, who played at Virginia Tech and also started for Cox. Tavion Robinson gets his 3rd pick 6 of the year, a new school record for a season and a career. He's only a junior, and Virginia Tech and Maryland have offered him. Kudos to Kellum for coming from 28 down to tie it up, but Cox gets the win, and that was the game of the night in the Beach in terms of the heroic plays, exciting plays. However, the game of the week was Lansdowne and Salem, and Lansdowne wins it on a 2-point conversion with a little over 4 minutes to go. Tommy Riemann gets the job done. Thank you, Coach Riemann. Thank you, Eagles. My lead is now 4 over this guy who took Salem.
I took Salem. I took
You were looking good for 3.5 quarters. Not at the end, though.
Well, the game is 4, so.
Did a good job.
Nothing against you, Tommy Riemann, but I got to catch him, so I took Salem, and almost happened.
Are you gonna unfriend Sean Wilson on Facebook? I don't know if y'all are friends on Facebook.
No.
You're not adding him. There you go.
I don't really add
Sorry,
anybody.
Sean,
they have to add me.
Yeah, he's not adding you because you didn't get the win. Now, had you won last night, he probably would have added you. That's how it would have worked. Salem gets 2 100-yard rushers in Kalen Black, the sophomore, and Lamarco Williams, the senior. They outgained Lansdowne, had 1 more turnover, but the gambler, the riverboat gambler that is Tommy Riemann, going for 2, gets the win as they beat Salem for a 4th straight year. 3rd win by 5 points or less for Lansdowne. They keep winning in close games, and you said they're going to go 10-0. I say they will not now. I think they'll get 1 loss. Kellum, Tulsa, Cox. I still think Lansdowne's the best in the Beach, so I'm not saying that you're not. Don't get mad. I just think it's so hard to go 10-0, and they've been playing with fire the last few weeks, close games. Somebody's going to pick them off. You know who it could be we haven't talked enough about? It's Tallwood. Coming off the bye week, Tallwood's going to need it for playoff positioning. It could be Tallwood. Never know.
Yeah, any of the 3 are capable of beating Lansdowne, Kellum, Tallwood, Cox. I personally don't think it's going to happen.
Start of the year, we did our Beach District Players of the Year. We did it for all 5 of the districts in Hampton Roads, the Beach, Eastern, Southeastern, Peninsula, and Bay Rivers. And we'll try to revise them a little bit if I can remember who all we picked. You had Trey Jones, the linebacker at Bayside, who's had a good year. He's going to Navy. I took Javon Beckton, Ocean Lakes, defensive end, going to Georgia. Defensive players that have done well. Nothing wrong with those picks. This Beach has been weird, though, Ed. You've had 6 games where a double-digit lead has been erased, and 6 times the winning team trailed in the 4th quarter. Topsy-turvy, roller coaster. It's your type of football, my friend.
That's what I like.
My player of the year right now is Brent Stukes, the dual-threat quarterback for Lansdowne. You could also go with his teammate Joe White, the wide receiver defensive back headed to UVA. I got a feeling you're going with Mr. Tavion Robinson, scoring every which way possible.
I like that kid, scoring all over the place.
And he plays b-ball.
6 picks, and he's a basketball kid, so I'm a little partial to that. I would go with that youngster.
Eastern District, as we now morphed a little bit of a player of the year pick mid-season, I think I had Deion Smith, the running back at Lake Taylor. He's had some big games, including the one against Maury when he was our state player of the week in Virginia Preps, sponsored by Virginia Trophy. We thank our guy Bruce Pearl there. He got a plaque this past week. But there was no award tended out to Lake Taylor, losing 14-12 to Granby. And Chevalier Williams, the wide receiver, might be a guy I'd go with. I think you also look at Norcom with their defense led by Alan Boykins and Antonio Hines. one of those two guys, as well as Kassan Dixon, who's been a real dynamic guy as a junior, much like Robinson, offense, defense, special teams. Dixon's probably my pick there. But how about the Granby Comets now? First one over Lake Taylor since 2004. They're 4-2. They got Booker T. Washington next. They can make the playoffs in Class 6, can they not?
Yeah, I think this is the one that kickstarts them beating a Lake Taylor. As long as they don't feel their season's over. Sometimes, you beat a team you're not supposed to beat, and then the kid's kind of like, okay, we did our thing, but wait, we got more games to go. I think it's one that really kickstarts them into playoff status, and then let's see what happens when they get to the playoffs.
Yeah, we will find out what's going to go on there with Granby, as they still have some tests remaining. Booker T, at Churchland, at Thomasdale. Morey, why are you yawning? You can't yawn in the video show. Are you
because
sleepy?
You're giving me these
You're losing
teams.
all the viewers.
We got
Why
to
are you yawning?
I want to get into some more. There's a team coming up that I want to talk more
you're
about.
You're gonna like jump out of your seat.
Yeah,
You're gonna get excited?
and I can't wait to
He's
get
not
to
going to yawn anymore.
These state rankings.
Throw in a trash can.
I told this guy
He's
to put
yawning
these
on me.
teams in here, and he didn't last week. So we're
This
gonna
is
get
what he does every Saturday when I'm on the air. When I'm asking a question to a guest, he's doing
right here.
Matt's talking. Go to sleep. I'm
94.1.
gonna go to sleep. That's what he does when he's talking. So I'm gonna take a nap when you're talking. Booker T loses to Broad Run 54-19. I don't think this is going to hurt them for the postseason situation. And they had a freshman running back, by the way, and Rodney Hammond run for about 160 yards on them. Broad Run, that is, last night. I think Booker T's still in good shape. But Norcom, much like Lancetown, great resurgence story. Larry Archie and the Greyhounds getting it done. The defense holding foes to 6.3 points per game and doing so with an injured T.J. Jones at linebacker. They're missing him. We mentioned Dixon and Hines and Boykins leading that crew. Greg Amos in the secondary also. Got to give him a shout. They've won, Ed, though, 5 of these games of their 7, scoring less than 20 points. How long is this going to keep going? And they got Lake Taylor next. So we said the pressure's off. The 45-game win streak is over in the district. This could be the spot where you say, oh, Lake Taylor's going to lose to them, and they turn around and beat them at home.
Yeah, first of all, I could see Lake Taylor winning because they just lost at Granby. The streak is broke. Those guys are going to be fit to be tied in practice week. I'm not worried about Norcom only scoring X amount of points. That defense is the key, and they're holding people down. And I like what I see in the Norcom team. This is a team that does excite me. And some people might say, well, look at their schedule. They're not beating any real powerhouses. They got Lafayette in a close one, 15-10. It's the way they're playing. After a while, it doesn't matter who you're playing. It's how you're playing, and this is what would describe them. Their defense is just so tough. And we always talk about defense winning championships, even though I think it's most points on the board wins. And as I always said, as long as you got one more point than your opponent, you're okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was yawning there. What are you talking? The thing, though, that gets me at about Lake Taylor is the lost fumbles. They've got 18 lost fumbles, which is so unlike them. And granted, in that twin veer where you have a lot of pitching and reading, you could have some fumbles. But they've got a couple freshmen in quarterback, Jeff Foster and Malik Newton, who are going to be good ones. Newton, the running back, who had that big game to open the year against Western Branch. The thing is, I just don't know if they can move the ball without turning it over against Norcom. Moving the ball, they might move it a little bit, but can they finish a drive without turning it over? Because if they did that against Granby, they would have won tonight. And that hurt them.
Well, in that game, plus that game there might be first score wins because they're both known for their defense. Even though Lake Taylor has been giving up some points this year, they're usually the masters of that defense. They just come right at you as soon as it's gangbusters, as soon as it's hyped. So, but I think it should be a good game. And the only thing is, Lake Taylor's record is not one loss or undefeated, but. I think it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, they had a 7-6 game with Booker T, and we didn't see that Booker T defense last night against Broad Run. We'll get to that a little bit later on about Broad Run, where they stack up in Class 5. He wanted to move up in the rankings, but I say, who do you want me to drop? And he hasn't given me an answer yet.
No, I would stay where they are.
Southeastern District, Ed, the surprise of the night was Grassfield beating Western Branch 28-21. We heard about all the seniors they've lost the last 2 years, about 65 or so from Marty Asprey. We know about Grant Holloway going to Florida a couple years ago for track and football, ends up being just track. Patrick Jones to Pitt and some other key guys, Austin Wood to Old Dominion. But now the Grizzlies have Lakeland and Hickory next, Indian River and Nansman to close it up. We counted them out of the playoff race at 0-4 with that brutal schedule of Deep Creek, Colonial Forge, Oscar Smith, Kings Fork. But you know what? It's paying off now playing all those tough teams because they could get to 4-4 suddenly and be back in the playoff conversation in Class 6 when they were buried.
Yeah, open up 0-4. I thought pretty much that was it. Of course, they got kick-started with the Great Bridge win. Of course, last night Western Branch. Now Lakeland can present a problem for them, but it's a very winnable game for Grassfield. And then Hickory, I just don't see Hickory have enough weapons for Grassfield. Then they got into the year with Indian River, with the river teams, Indian River and Nazareth River, will be tough games for Grassfield. But they can slide in there.
You know, player of the year in the Southeastern's hard at this point, just a little bit at the midway point. I think in the Eastern we both like Dixon at Norcom. He's probably the guy we would lean with at the moment. Although the quarterback at Morey's been good, Kevin Bam Mills with the stats.
Big numbers.
Haven't gotten the results, all of them. They win in overtime over Churchton. Southeastern, I don't know that I'd say Seth Dobbs of Grassfield's player of the year, but he's one of the most underrated players. Hard-hitting linebacker, running the ball well. Do you go with Damian Everett, the big-time running back at Deep Creek? Do you go with one of those defensive players at Oscar Smith, like a linebacker in Kashawn Artis? Or do you go somewhere else? Dare we say Kings Fork's got a quarterback already? Where do you go? Everett at Deep Creek, the guy at this point? Might be Everett.
Because of their such the feel-good story of the year, undefeated, who is their leader in terms of numbers? He is.
Yeah.
So it's easy to go right with him.
And Jalen Alexander's a big force for Western Branch, defensive lineman, who will make his college choice coming up on Thursday. He's got some schools in the mix there like Georgia, Georgia Tech, Maryland, Virginia Tech. We'll find out who he picks. And tell you what, I think I could go with Artis at Oscar Smith. That defense gives up 7 points in Nancy River. People are wondering what's wrong with them. They gave up 7 points. Oh my goodness! But the showdown is here. We've been waiting for it now. A couple weeks since the Indian River game with Deep Creek. Deep Creek, Oscar Smith. We had over 4,000 fans of the night. Do we get 5,000 plus at Oscar Smith? Beard DeLong easily feel for this one?
I'm telling you what, I really think this is going to be shut the gates early.
What time should yours truly and the fans arrive? Game kicks at 7, pregame at 6. Should I get there about 5:15?
5:30. No later than 5:30. You ain't
5:30.
getting in.
All right.
Don't come waltzing in at 7, 5 till 7. You're not getting in.
All right.
This game is going to be the biggest crowd of the year. Anywhere.
Is Ed Young going to show, or you got gate duty?
I'm going to give up my seat and take gate duty with Nancy River.
Who's got Western Branch, and under the radar game that both teams need. Warriors have dropped 3 in a row after 3-0 start. Western Branch reeling a bit at 3-3. You know, that bottom part, we talked about this last week with Class 5, looking at Gloucester. Could they make the playoffs? Can PA make the playoffs? Had a battle with Kempsville for 3 quarters and PA pulled away. How Class 5 could have a 3-7, 4-6 team in. Ed, in Class 6, the last couple spots, because you figure we'll throw them in as locks. Lansdowne's a lock. Ocean Lakes is a lock. Oscar Smith's a lock. I think Cox is a win away from being a lock. They're not in yet. They're a win away from being locked in. Is Woodside going to get in? Remember, they're Class 6 as well. They're now 4-3. What about Bayside? They're 3-3. Granby's 4-2. You're going to be sitting at 6-4, 7-3. Where do some of these teams shake out? Granby's got a couple games left that are a little bit challenging. Bayside's got Ocean Lakes and Salem still to play. It's going to be tough for them to get in. Woodside's schedule's a little bit softer, you say, but wait, they got Hampton in 2 weeks, so it's not that soft. The last couple spots, whoever gets in as the 7-8 seed is going to be a live seed. Remember, just last year, Grassfield was a 7 and beat Cox a 2 because Grassfield was not your ordinary 7 seed.
No, a ton of athletes on that team. And that's the thing about the playoff system. You would think 1-8, we think of a bad team playing a really, really super team, best team. That's not true in these playoffs. Now, I did see somewhere, I think it's in Division 4 or 5, Great Bridge, who's winless, is in the running for a playoff spot. Strength of schedule.
They are close to it. I'm going to pull it up here in a second. But I give you, you mentioned the 1-8 game. Last year it was Oscar Smith, Western Branch. You remember what that score was? Oscar Smith only won 21-14, and in the regular season it was 35-17 Smith, but Western Branch was up 17-7 in that game. So last year it even showed us that in Class 6, the 1-8, 2-7 games, they're not your typical, and one of these years a 1-8 could get picked off. If Lansdowne gets the 1 seed, which I think they've the inside track to doing, you think they feel comfortable about maybe a rematch with Bayside, or they only beat 15-10 with a backup quarterback, or dare say a Western Branch team that can run it, a Granby team that just beat Lake Taylor? It's not an easy first round game.
No, it wouldn't be easy. I would feel, if I'm Lansdowne, I feel comfortable in those two though, but I just don't think those two teams are presenting enough of an issue here late in the season to say, okay, we really got to worry about them.
They got to keep their quarterback healthy, Stoops. Right. That's so key. Is you cannot.
Makes them go.
The margin for error in Class 6 is so small that if you have one of your feature guys go down, even Victor Jones, a running back who's been critical for them too, it can really shift things. We saw it with Ocean Lakes. They get Tyler Browning back last night. They beat Green Run. He runs for 100 yards. If they had him against Lansdowne, I'm not saying they win the game, but it helps. So you want to have your key guys healthy. Any sport, that's the name of the game. And Great Bridge was the number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 seed at 0-5 in Class 4.
Amazing.
Behind them, Grafton, Denby, Wilson, Churchton, all of whom I believe is lost just this past week. So Jamestown, though, they just beat Brute. So Jamestown may jump ahead of How about that? Deep Creek, though, looking good for the 1 seed. And really, Lafayette as a 4 seed, 4-5 game with Heritage would be interesting if that happens there. Moving along from the Southeastern District, so you go with Everett, I'd go with Artis for the player of the year at this moment.
Yes.
For the Peninsula, there's no real, we had all the marquee recruits last year with Daz Newsom and Elijah Conliffe, and you think of Jonathan Gregory went to Norfolk State from Phoebus, the defensive back, Jeremiah Owusu from Bethel went to Notre Dame. You're Fighting Irish there. Jeremiah Boyd to Navy from Heritage, Tyler from Woodside to Army. Who is the one guy that you give it to? It's hard to pick out a guy. I tell you what, I'm leaning with the little guy from Hampton, Cam Stevenson, the quarterback. He's been really good. You're probably looking at a Phoebus defender. And also that wide receiver, Barry Hargraves, has been stepping up for Phoebus. Hargraves could be a good choice. He had another big game against Bethel after the late Taylor game where he had the receiving yards and the returns.
I like the quarterback at Hampton. I kind of want to go with a defender of Phoebus.
Oh, here's the guy we totally forgot about. Player of the year. It's hard to say it. What about Isaiah Spencer at Gloucester?
Yeah, because Gloucester
he's putting up huge
just had
numbers.
a big game, and they got some more wins coming up.
138 points in 4 straight wins. He's been running. He's been passing. He might be the guy. He's probably the most ballyhooed next-level prospect in the district, which is hard to fathom coming out of Gloucester.
He's just not playing on a Hampton or Phoebus team. If that kid was on a Hampton or Phoebus team, we'd talk about him every second.
We'd be talking about them as state championship level
Yes.
teams. And we still may be with Phoebus and Hampton. I think more so for Phoebus because they're in Class 3. Hampton it's tougher to get out of Class 5 from Tidewater, Richmond to the state semifinal level. Although Hampton may be the favorite against Phoebus head-to-head. They beat them 44-0 last year in that game. Coming up next week, Darling Stadium. I asked this on the show, and it's our poll question on HS Sports Talk 941. Go there and vote, vote, vote. You'll never be alone with your computer when you vote, vote, vote.
That's right.
What's your vote? Hampton, Phoebus, Deep Creek, Oscar Smith. Which is the game you're more looking forward to?
Anywhere in Deep Creek's intriguing.
No, Oscar Smith and Deep Creek.
Oscar Smith and Deep Creek is intriguing, but I stay with the traditional feud, Hampton Phoebus.
He's an old head. He's old school.
I'm old school.
You're old head. Even though your name is young, you're old.
I got to go with the feuds.
Isn't it like an oxymoron, old? Even though
If it's anything with moron, it probably has to deal with you. So I would leave it at that.
that was not nice. That was very mean.
You the one that said it. I didn't say it.
The mean-spirited Sir Edward Young. Peninsula, though, anything other than this Gloucester win streak, I still say the team that is just quietly lurking, waiting in the bushes to come out and get you, is Heritage. Look at them. They got a chance to beat Kickingham, Warwick, Menchville, Bethel. They could go into the playoffs on a nice little 6-game streak after the 1-3 start.
After 1-3 start would be amazing, because after 1-3 start, I didn't know if we'd see him again.
You know who else started 1-3 over in the beach, and they're playing well, is Princess Anne. Somebody, years ago, back in the early 2000s, late 90s, you started 1-3, your season was over. You were in playoff contention. Now, we got teams like Heritage and PA trying to get a home first-round playoff game.
Or Great Bridge, winless in the playoffs.
You got a problem with that, don't you?
I have a problem with that. I'm sorry.
On the Wildcats.
I
Who
love
just
the Wildcats.
retired Briante Weber's jersey. Kudos to him. And your good buddy, Gary Obenauer, the longtime assistant football coach at Great Bridge, also the head basketball coach, stepping down. We wish Gary all the best.
I wish Gary a lot. I was kind of taken it by surprise. School year's already started. You figure if you're coaching, unless, it's a health issue, whatever, which we don't think it is. But Gary, obviously, just stepping aside, and he's a fixture at Great Bridge.
Another jersey retired coming up on Thursday, Cam Chancellor's number 4 jersey for Maury as they play host to Norview at Powhatan Field in Norfolk. Being retired, Cam, the Pro Bowl safety with the Seahawks. We've had him on the show many times before. Done a lot of great stuff in the area, charity-wise, and with his Cam Cares Foundation, and his former teammate, Terry McCain, the coach at Maury, facing his former coach at Maury and Delton Cotton, now the head coach at Norview. A game both of those teams need to win, because to me, this is a playoff elimination game in Class 5. Loser of this game, you're out. I don't think you'll make it. In Class 5, you might get a 3-17, but I think the loser is out. Winners still got hope. That's how I view it.
I'm going to say, yes, it's important, but the loser, you're going to have to win the rest of your games.
No.
See, he says you're out. I say you're in, but you got to win the rest of your games to make sure.
So you think Norview can beat Booker T. Wilson and Hampton?
It's not going to be easy. Hampton, I don't see it.
You think
They can beat
Maury?
Booker
Do
T.
you think Maury can beat? They got 2 games left. Norcom on the road bye week, and then Granby at Powhatan. They're gonna win both of those games.
That's gonna be
You're
tough.
asking one of them to beat an undefeated team at the moment in either Norcom or Hampton. That's why I'm telling you it's an elimination game. It's an eliminator game.
Loser, you still have a chance with me. With him, you don't.
Well, we'll move on. I'm a winner. He's a loser. That's what I
just
say.
agree to disagree.
So Peninsula, you went with Spencer, Gloucester, or you going with Stevenson? You going with Stevenson, Hampton?
Stevenson, Hampton.
I'm going Spencer.
No, wait a minute.
No, wait a minute.
No. I
Change your mind.
originally said I wanted a defender from
Phoebus.
Phoebus.
Oh, so you want...
But I'm going to change that because I like that Spencer kid. Another basketball player.
Yeah.
So I'm going with a basketball
Played
kid.
around ball, he'll take you. Bay Rivers is interesting. I think you took Armani Burden to Lafayette beginning of the year, and that defense has been lights out. Him and Jack Irwin going to Richmond for lacrosse. Burden playing football at Navy next year. Has given up just 4.7 points per game. Maybe the Smithfield quarterback defensive back, Willie Drew, who we had on the show, going to James Madison is the pick. Runs for over 200, throws for over 100, has multiple scores.
Like Willie Drew.
4-game win streak. You like Willie Drew here.
I
He's
like
putting
Willie
up the
Drew.
flashy. He likes flash and dash.
Flash and dash.
I don't think he plays basketball, though.
Yeah,
okay?
Don't matter. I bet he could, though.
I bet he could. He might play basketball. I'm not sure.
We had him on here. We should ask
He'll
him.
correct us if we're wrong on that. I'm going to go with the Lafayette defense. I'm going to go with Burden or Irwin. I could split it in half, give half of it to each guy. Let's go with Burden for the moment, but I don't have a problem giving it to Irwin either. So, Bay Rivers, interesting note. Pocosin. Again, we keep sleeping on Pocosin. That defense giving up 8.3 points per game. I do have him ranked 5th in the state in Class 2, which we'll get to in a moment. But they're very, very good, Ed. Very, very good. And they have Smithfield next, which is a tall task.
Yeah, at the beginning of the year, we said Smithfield would lose the first two and win the rest. This is one of the rest, but I don't think it's an automatic win for Smithfield. I think it really shapes up to be a really good game.
It's one of the rest. Good, better, best. Never let it rest until your good is better, and your better is your best.
He said it, not me.
Because you couldn't say all that. You trip up.
I'm already best. I just leave it best.
Shoestring, you untied.
I don't need to go through all that. I stay on the best level. You either got to get good, better, or you have to be the best. Okay, I'm gonna try to stay on the best level.
Okay, so Bay Rivers. Anything else really catch your eye from? Not a whole lot for me. So there you have it. A couple of the games we got to get to of note that are big this week coming up. I think Salem Tallwood, interesting game, has some value to it. Bayside Ocean Lakes, could an upset be sprung? The beach has been wild. I say no, but you never know. Eastern District, Norcom Material, we highlighted a little bit. Western Branch Nanceman's an interesting game. Here's the best game that won't get talked about because of Oscar Smith Deep Creek.
Right.
The best game that won't get talked about is Kings Fork playing host to Indian River. Both still have to play Oscar Smith. Kings Fork still has to play Deep Creek. Kings Fork is rolling offensively, 40.3 points per game. Indian River at 36 points per game. You say it's a shootout. I think it could have some more defense in it than you expect. Good D lineman in this game with Ben Smiley of the Braves, and then you got J. Ree Hardy and Trayshawn Mitchell for Kings Fork, who got some TV time last week with Scotty Littles, the coach, on the sideline with Bruce Smith, the Virginia Tech Clemson game. I don't know who to lean with in that game. That game is probably harder to call than Oscar Smith Deep Creek, and I dare say harder to call than Phoebus Hampton. That's a hard game to call.
Yeah, I don't want to divulge my pick right now.
Because you don't know who you're picking. That's why you don't want to divulge.
I
Just
have a
tell the
small
truth.
feeling.
Don't lie to the audience. Don't, pull punches.
I have a small feeling who I want, but I cannot divulge that right now.
Well, you're probably picking the Chesapeake School because it's a Suffolk rival.
I don't want nobody to put wagers down on these picks. Don't do that.
Of course not. We don't condone that.
That's
That's
exactly
awful.
right.
Jeez. And plus, if they did it on your picks, they'd be broke in a heartbeat.
Broke in a heartbeat.
So never. No. You just have fun with it. You watch the games for fun. That's an absolute way to it. We definitely don't condone that. That's bad stuff. Let's go to the state stuff here now, Ed. The undefeated teams left. We crossed out Mount Vernon. In Class 6, we got Colonial Forge, number 1. Freedom out of Woodbridge. Westfield, two-time defending state champ, won a tough one, 10-6 with Madison as Taylor Moore gets the INT to finish it off there. They get the longest win streak in the state at 15 games. Woodbridge and Lancetown. Should Westfield now get some look at number 1? Should Freedom? Is Colonial Forge, which was down at halftime to Massaponics, then scored 38 unanswered to just smoke them in the second half. Are they the favorite now? They've been having some sluggish starts to games. Is somebody leaping, maybe an Oscar Smith, did they take care of business against Deep Creek? Are you fine with Forge 1? Do you want to change it? Do you think Westfield, you want to wait till they play Centerville? What's kind of your thought, Class 6 here, big picture? You got a big picture thought?
Colonial Forge, until they lose, stays number 1.
Okay. Now, will they lose? They have North Stafford into the season, who's very good and explosive.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to lose.
You don't think they're going to lose?
I think they're going to
What about
undefeated.
playoffs? Could they get hit with that slow start stuff?
Playoffs, it all starts over again. They could lose the very first playoff game.
Ooh, and they did it a few years back,
Yeah,
I think.
That goes to show.
Goes to show. Class 5. It's weird to say Hampton is being slept on big picture at number 5 in the state, Mike Smith doesn't have that dynamite prospect like a Daz Newsome or a Ronald Curry or a Tyrod Taylor that they've been known to have. But look at the teams in front of them. You've got Stonebridge at number 1, undefeated. Hermitage number 2, undefeated. They beat two-time defending state champ Highland Springs in the opener on a pick by Mateo Jackson. Number 3 is Highland Springs, who's starting to rev it up offensively. And number 4 is Broad Run, who scores 54 points and a half with a sophomore quarterback, sophomore running back. Broad Run, Stonebridge, end of the season. That'll be a showdown in Northern Virginia.
That's going to be some points on the board.
It's going to be a great game.
I think it's big-time points on both teams.
Stonebridge's starting running back, Bradley Block, is out with an injury, but I don't think it's going to matter a ton the way their defense is playing. They got Daniel Thompson catching the ball. They're a team that can survive a running back injury because they just plug a guy in there and still do well. But do you have an issue with that 1 through 5 of Stonebridge, Hermitage, Highland Springs, Broad Run, and Hampton? You did earlier this morning, but now you're thinking about it more and you say, all right, you're not that big a dummy after all.
Nah, you're not that big of a dummy after all.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate that. You're a swell guy sometimes.
Good guy.
Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes. Class 4, you have the most undefeateds left in the state, I want to say. Yeah, you got 8 now. There's 7 in Class 2 because a few of them got knocked down. And all 8 of them are in the top 10. Dinwiddie's at the top of the list. Monacan wins an overtime game as the Henderson brothers square off. Jim beating his brother Bobby in OT. Deep Creek's got Oscar Smith next. Who on this list not getting enough respect, Ed? William Byrd, Millbrook, well, Dinwiddie's 1. Liberty, Louisa, Eastern View. Anybody not getting enough respect for your liking here? Or is it all according to form right now? It's hard to believe the team's out of the top 10, by the way. Lake Titter's out of it, which they've now lost the 3rd game. Salem, who's the 2-time defending state champ, out of it. Kings Fork is out of it. GW at Danville, who's averaged almost 60 points per game, they're out of it. Charlottesville, who scored 78 last night, they're out of it. So there's a team that could come up and go deep and be a hot sleeper here, a surprise.
Which is what you want to do. You want to play your best football or any sport right towards the end of the year for momentum into the playoffs.
I tell you what I think, and I know you're not as well versed in some of these teams, but Millbrook, Eastern View, Louisa, I think some of these teams the jury's still out, though they're undefeated because they haven't been really tested schedule-wise. Right. Is that fair to say?
I would say so.
I think the one team, if anybody is able to knock off Dinwiddie in the playoffs, it would be Monacan right now. I'm not saying they will, but I think they may match up the best with them. We shall see. I think the good thing for them is it doesn't look like Lake Titter and Salem are as dominant. Salem had a rough defensive game, even though they won against Patrick Henry at Roanoke. So that's the curious thing there to see if the usual suspects at Dinwiddie seem like Salem and Lake Titter get to that point. Doesn't look like it will. Maybe Deep Creek's the new creek is on the rise. Huge test with Oscar Smith. Class 3, Phoebus is number 1, much to your delight. You wanted them over Stanton River, but kudos to Stanton River's Grayson Overstreet set the Virginia High School League career touchdown records last night, breaking Cedric Pierman's mark, the former William Campbell star. So they have the all-time touchdown leader. They're putting up video game numbers, which you love, yet they're not number 1. We got Norcom at number 4, who's undefeated. Monticello's number 7, who's undefeated. Are you confident in Phoebus as the best team in the state, or will the Hampton game tell us the real story?
If Phoebus dominates Hampton,
that is not going to happen. They might win, but I don't think they're dominating.
And I say dominate.
I will literally eat. I will eat. If you win by more than 20, I will get a bag of crow and eat it right here live on video. If you win by more than 20,
not with me sitting next to you.
You know, let me eat crow. How about can I eat pretzels?
No, not when we're on the air. You got to have on-air etiquette.
Okay, well, what's the on-air etiquette humiliation tactic that you want to make me sit through if they win by 20 plus?
No, I'm not going to have anything.
Okay,
I'm not going to do anything.
okay.
No, you do a good job of messing yourself up. Why should I help? Phoebus number 1, Staunton River 2, Stanton, whatever the river flows. I want to see Norcom move up. Norcom move up.
Well, they got to score more points. They want to move up, and one of those three's got to drop. Lord Botetourt lost a tight one with Stanton River, which was sort of like the Hampton-Phoebus game of 3 out west, and they might meet again in the playoffs. I think that's another thing we're starting to see, Ed, is you're going to see some of these matchups. Though in Tidewater, we got teams in different divisions like Oscar Smith and Deep Creek, Phoebus and Hampton. We're going to see some rematches. Like Stonebridge has got to play Tuscarora and Broad Run. They could see each other again in the playoffs. Same thing in 6 with Centerville and Westfield. Same thing with Dinwiddie and Monty. Well, they're not playing each other, but you get my point. There's some games where they're seeing each other and they could see each other again in the playoffs. And I think that helps with the rivalry and the spice of some of these matchups. Not as many of those in Tidewater because we can't see Oscar Smith and Deep Creek again. We can't see Hampton Phoebus again.
Right, exactly.
Exactly. Definitely.
Most definitely.
So we move to Class 2. Go ahead and rip me apart. Tell me why the Class 2 rankings. We got Goochland number 1, who you like, who you picked to win it all. Union's number 2, they're still undefeated, who you like. Now tell me why I put Clark County fourth and they got smoked by Central Woodstock. The Falcons beat them 40-0. They're averaging 54.5 points per game. Tell me why I'm an idiot. Go ahead. I've been waiting all morning.
They're screwed up. The standings are screwed up.
What's screwed up?
Okay, let me go over this. Let me learn you something.
Okay.
2A, you got Gooseland 1. There's no argument with that.
Okay. Defense is good.
All right, they're 5-0. Okay.
Union 6-0.
All right, they're putting points on the board.
Well, they're now 6-0 and Union 7-0. But
Okay.
That was last week.
And then we have number 2.
Union.
Okay, 3.
Appomattox is 3. Two-time defending state champ who lost to Heritage of Lynchburg, who's a very good team at 5-1. So they had the longest win streak in the state. It got snapped. Then Clark County was 4th, and that's where I messed up. They beat Dominion, who was a good Class 4 school earlier this year. They beat teams in higher divisions. They smoked them. And then Central Woodstock, who I didn't have ranked, they go ahead and just demolish Clark County. And I didn't have Luray ranked, and they go beat Robert E. Lee 42-33. And he's shaking his head because he's
SMH. That's all I can say. Not LOMG.
So how good is Central Woodstock? Are they good enough to really be a thorn here? At 54 points a game, that's something here.
We got to move where we.
They're not ranked. That's
yeah,
why.
We got to move them
I'm an
in.
idiot.
Then who you get rid of?
Well,
Who did Graham?
Lee lost. Gretna lost. George Mason wasn't in, but they lost. They were undefeated. So we got a couple teams that are going to fall out of this here.
Yeah.
And Glenver's Kyle Clifford, we have to give him a shout out. 8 interceptions through 6 games. He won't get the state record, which is like 20 in a season, but he's picking off passes left and right. If you play Glenver, don't throw to his direction because he will make you pay. It would be a bad idea. So just a heads up for any teams that see the Highlanders, just go the other way.
I'll throw his way.
Go the other way. Just like when you hear Ed Young, make a pick. Go the other way.
Go the other way.
And Class 1, your guys at Northumberland were there and they lost to Trinity Episcopal after we taped it a week ago. Riverheads is number 1. They're still there. William Campbell is number 5. Just got a good win. And in Washington, Lee is still undefeated. Class 3, it's still up in the air to me because, Sussex had that loss to Southampton, but Essex lost to them. But Essex is playing better right now despite losing to them. Something screwy is going to happen in Class 1. I don't know what it is, and Riverheads is the defending champ. I can't put my finger on it, but something screwy is going to happen in Class 1. Can you help me?
I don't.
I'm going to say no.
No, I'm going to say no to begin with.
me.
Because if you don't know it, there's no help available.
Something screwy is going to happen.
Riverhead, Sussex Central, Essex.
I picked George Wood start the year number 1. They got 2 losses, but that was again higher division teams.
Yeah, I don't know.
You also like Galax a lot too.
Late Galax.
They got some freshmen on both sides of the ball.
But I would stick right now with Sussex Central.
Okay.
Maybe I'm taking a big step in the past. Because back in the day when they were at power, you talk about winning
Curtis
streaks.
Jefferson. You're just giving a plug to your guy Paul Hall, who's good friends with him, young Grasshopper. That'll do it for this edition of the show, Grasshoppers.
We're done already?
Yeah, we're done. We got to do the Sports Talk Plus, the college, pro, and baseball show. Every Saturday, 10 a.m. to noon, get involved with us. We want to come to your location and do this. It'll be a lot of fun. And all you got to do is feed us or clothe us or something.
Nah, food. Give us
Take
food.
Free food.
I'm wearing clothes already. I just need some food.
Free food. Ed will come for free food, and he'll sign autographs and kiss babies and shake hands.
We'll talk sports. Come on.
And maybe even do some dancing, show you his dance moves that he
Depends on what you
breaks
play.
out on Thursday and Friday night. We'll talk to you next week. See you
Later.
later.